rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. So, I open up the chat, I open up the Rumble channel so that, you know, all of my Whiskey Warrior P1s over on Rumble, because that seems to be where most of them go. So they need to, you know, if you're not there yet, I'm telling you, that's the party place. You got to head over to rumble.com, get yourself an account, and then, of course, search up the American Perspective channel, and make sure you hit that green follow button on the channel to get notified every time I go live. But the party is definitely over there. All of that being said, I just realized I didn't have the rest of my my chats going just yet. So while I'm speaking, I'm going to be bringing those up. But all of that being said, we were discussing a couple of different things. One is obviously the weather. As you notice tonight, I am wearing back in my polo, or one of my polos, that I have from theflagshirt.com, which we'll get to them in just a minute. But the reason why I'm in the polo is because we actually cooled down today. So, yeah, we cooled down a little bit. It's been kind of hot. It got up into the low 80s in the last couple of days. We had a heat advisory in effect and so on and so forth. So, you know, there was that, which I know for a lot of my Whiskey Warrior P1s, they're all running, you know, they all, for the most part, are in either Texas or Florida. There's California. Pretty much everybody's in a hot place, with the exception of a couple. But we were sitting there and talking about the weather. And then, of course, that I brought up the fact that Mrs. Whiskey and I are starting to discuss where we will go, or where I would go, me and her. Hopefully she'd come with me. But anyway, we were discussing where we would go once I quote unquote retire. Because I'll be honest with you, I am probably never going to fully retire. I will always be doing something. In fact, I have a feeling that the way this is going and the way that I enjoy it, I will probably end up like dying on camera. Anyway, I'll be in on my deathbed and still have a microphone in my face, you know, talking. But anyway, all of that being said, I mean, I'm not planning on retiring anytime soon, but I am getting up there in years. And so, you know, the thought has crossed my mind, where would we go? And dealing with, you know, now that you have the kids, you know, my son is getting married next year. My daughter is dating a guy pretty steady and is trying to determine what she wants to do with her life. And so, of course, as we get into the empty nester mode, we start thinking about where we're going to go and what we're going to do, and that kind of thing. Now, me personally, I would love myself. I think I would actually enjoy getting on the road and doing a road trip. And by a road trip, I mean getting an RV, whether it's a rental or owning one, and just going in America, going all over America. And, of course, that would become my segments, Whiskey on the Road. I've traveled a lot for my work. And, you know, when you travel for work, it's a little bit different than when you travel for vacation. But in terms of this particular thing, I would be doing it, obviously, for the podcast. And I honestly think that it would be kind of cool, because I would focus on hitting places across America that are America. You know, America. And essentially what I would be doing is I'd be going around and hitting up all of our places and everything else. And, you know, all of things like Mount Rushmore, never seen it. Go into D.C. and see all of the history there. Go up to Boston and check out all of that stuff. You know, hit a lot of the, like Gettysburg and some of these other famous places all throughout the land. And of course, at the same time, I cannot forget my Whiskey Warriors. I would have to go and stop in at all of my Whiskey Warriors. And so I just think that would be a fantastic trip. So that is one of my goals. Unfortunately, though, Mrs. Whiskey wants to travel as well. She just doesn't want to do it necessarily in an RV. So let's just say that we've come to a little bit of a discussion point when it comes to that kind of thing. Now, she did say that she would live on a boat for a little while. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if I'd really be thrilled to live on a boat, although I probably could. But anyway, I would hit, just as even if it was just like a year-long trip or something like that, I think it would just be cool just to travel around the country and hit a whole bunch of historical places and obviously talk about, hitting Philadelphia, Independence Hall, talking about the Declaration of Independence, talking about the Constitution, all of that stuff. Going into Washington, D.C. and doing all of that. I've been around Washington, D.C., but that kind of thing. Anyway, and of course, running through Kentucky, Ohio, I'm sure there's plenty of historical places there. And so, yeah, that is one of my goals, actually, for this show, is to get to a point where I can do that. And head out on the road and do a road show basically over and over. And in fact, I mean, I'm looking at and I've already got plans in my head, because that's the kind of thing that I do. Is I've got plans in my head of upgrading equipment, getting it all set up so that it's mobile and easily packable and that kind of stuff, and reliable to be used. More so than just my phone or something like that. And I've already got plans for it. I've got, the idea of setting money aside and everything else. So it's in the works. Don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but that is definitely one of my goals. And I just think it'd be kind of cool to do, just to go around and see all of you, of course. And it's easier for me to travel to you than it would necessarily be for you to travel to me. So yeah, there we go. All right, I've blathered on enough with all of that, but like I said, I'm not planning on going anywhere, folks. 649 is tonight. 650 will be for tomorrow. I'm planning on hitting at least 1K. Well, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going all the way until I basically say, okay, that's it. But this is going to be a long time going, because I actually enjoy this. It's crazy as it sounds. But I actually enjoy this. This is like the highlight of my day. Outside of Mrs. Whiskey, by the way. But anyway. All right. Let's go ahead and get this kicked off properly. So tonight we're back at the top of the list. Amy is at the top of the list. So Amy is on deck for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. Place your hand over your heart. Remove your hat if you're wearing one. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Amy as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, folks. That is a wonderful rendition of the pledge supplied by none other than Amy. And of course, I thank her for providing us with that pledge. That being said, if you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge or reciting the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And of course, as I've already mentioned, I am in my polo from theflagshirt.com. So guess what? theflagshirt.com is our headline sponsor. Go and check out. They've got their best sellers for summer going on right now. They've got them tagged, so you can hit shop now and you'll hit all of those. And what you will see, of course, is their best sellers in men's, women's, kids, made in the USA. They even still have their Independence Day outfits, featured brands. They've got all kinds of accessories, all in the fantastic red, white, and blue color combinations. And let me tell you, some of these things are just absolutely awesome. I personally like the men's cotton polos, but I'm looking at the short sleeve button downs as well. Those are pretty sharp looking too. I'm starting to look at that. And if you order $75 or more of their product, they will provide you with free shipping. That's right, $75 or more, and they will get you free shipping. But I understand, not everybody can spend $75 or more on their product. Now, that being said, I have a deal for you. If all you're looking for is like one singular product or something like that, what you can do is you can head off to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a promo code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. Go to theflagshirt.com and check everything out. And if you want to get a $5 off gift certificate, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you'll be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste in the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order on American Perspective. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. So, obviously, the Epstein crap is not going to go away, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Donald Trump made it a big deal. He did. I mean, let's be honest. If he just ignored it and didn't say anything, he probably would be okay. But yeah, he decided to get a little irritated. So now all of the Democrats who have nothing else to do because they're failing and losing, and, you know, especially in the American public's eyes, they're failing and losing and all this other stuff, and they're crashing and burning, and they have no idea what to do. So the only thing they have left is to lash out, and so they're trying to irk the president by doing all of this Epstein stuff. But before we get to that, last night I told you the Senate, I got like a hair on the thing. Last night I told you the Senate had passed the $9 billion rescissions package and that it was headed to the House. Well, what I didn't realize is that the House was prepared for it. They got it and passed it immediately. I'm talking like super, super fast, like so fast. And by doing so, this actually made history. This is the first passage of a rescissions bill in 26 years. That's right. This is the first time in 26 years that the Congress has actually agreed on cutting spending, and that it's been passed. Now, other rescission bills have come up, believe me, but none of them have actually passed for it. So anyway, it passed after an hour of debate on the measure shortly after 10 p.m. Eastern, and then they finally passed it with a 216 to 213 vote around 12:06 a.m. So they were working through the night to get this done. Now, this thing is basically the Doge cuts package wrapped up with some other rescissions as well. One of them, but the majority of all of this actually comes from the whole USAID stuff, as well as getting rid of NPR. Well, I should say funding, not necessarily getting rid of those outlets, but the funding for NPR and the funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And that pissed off the left. and has really done bad because they know that they can't have a show. They know that they can't have a network. They know that their messages and everything else are so damn bad, hardly anybody watches them or listens to them or anything else. And it's usually just the sycophantic lunatics that are on those and will provide the listenership, readership, viewership, whatever you want to call it, for those outlets. So the government is not paying anymore for it because it was signed into law at 2:30 Eastern Time today. Trump signed the bill. So it is in law now. NPR is no longer going to get public funding. So, yeah, there you go. And it's about damn time, too, personally. Because, I mean, again, being the strict constitutionalist that I am, funding public broadcasting, that has nothing to do with anything in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. It never should have been there at all. But for whatever reason, Democrats went ahead and, they went ahead and got these things going and everything else, and all they have become is a cesspool of leftist ideology. That's it. That's all there is. It's no more. Put a fork in it. It's out. All right. So now let's move on to. I'm going to get tired of talking about this, to be honest with you, but you guys really need to know about this. So the Wall Street Journal put out a report last night claiming that Donald Trump sent a birthday letter. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Wrote a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein back in something like 2003. And this letter included a sketch of a naked woman. And his signature was across her private area, acting like where, hair would normally be in that spot and so on and so forth. But here's the problem. The outlet didn't actually print the letter. They just said that they had it. So just like anything else where they all say, well, anonymous sources say, and so on and so forth. Yeah. They claim they have the letter, but they didn't bother to print the letter. They didn't bother to even print or demonstrate any type of factual evidence that they actually had the letter. And immediately Donald Trump came out and said, okay, that's it. You guys, we're done. I'm suing you. And he did. He filed it today. He filed the lawsuit today. And Trump told the outlet that, hey, this is not me. This is fake. Now, okay, let's be honest, all right? There's a couple things that honestly need to happen here. First of all, the Wall Street Journal portrayed this revelation, this breaking revelation. Oh, my gosh. And believe me, all of the leftists on all of the socials, they all jumped out and were all like, oh, my God, this proves that he and Jeffrey Epstein, he's on the list. No, folks, you got to remember the timeline of everything. Donald Trump threw Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club in 2007. This was earlier than that, and yes, everybody knew. And this is a matter of public record. He knew Jeffrey Epstein. You got photos of the guy, of the two of them together at public events that you've been, throwing out all over the internet and everything else, just throwing it all out there, saying that, oh, this proves that he and Jeffrey Epstein were the best of buddies and so on and so forth. You got to understand something, folks. Jeffrey Epstein, before he got into his troubles with the state of Florida, he hung out with a lot of these people. He was in the inner circles of a lot of these people. They ran in similar circles. We all know that Donald Trump did fly on one of Epstein's planes when he was going from Florida to New York and back. We have the flight logs. They are in the public sphere. They don't prove that he ever went to the Lolita Island. They don't prove that he was on the planes with any young girls. They don't prove a damn thing other than, yes, the two were aware of each other and they occasionally hung out or did business or whatever it was. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, you got to remember, was a financier. And he basically was, shall we say, a money guy. And there is some hint that he may have actually embezzled or stolen from some of these wealthy people that he was hanging out with. But so far, nothing has been proven down that fact outside of a couple of claims of some rich people who said, oh, yeah, I gave the guy some money and he never paid me back for it. He stole it or whatever. So the thing about it is that all of this stuff that the Wall Street Journal is trying to throw out here as proof that, oh my God, Donald Trump did, he was on Lolita Island because he wrote a birthday letter. Seriously? Come on. I mean, this would be no different than if they were to say, oh, I don't know, George W. Bush wrote Epstein a letter just because he happened to know him. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. It's a big nothing burger. There is nothing to this thing. Unless the Wall Street Journal can actually present the letter and prove that, number one, Donald Trump actually physically wrote the letter, and second, that this was something that Donald Trump himself created on his own, that nobody else was involved, or even better yet, you also have to remember too, Donald Trump's a mud monster. We know that he can be crude and crass, and that he has made statements about women in the past and all of this other stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that he, raped anybody or even sexually assaulted anybody. He was reportedly dating Melania at the time. So, I mean, again, none of this proves anything. None of this proves anything. And yet the Wall Street Journal is acting as though this is like this is the nail in Donald Trump's coffin. Yeah, no, it's not. Now, the Wall Street Journal article claims that the letter was part of a leather-bound album and that Trump had framed the letter, like I said, within the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. That's a quote from them. But the paper didn't include an image of the letter. It says that the letter was part of a trove of Department of Justice papers that have come to be known as the Epstein files, but yet neither the DOJ nor the FBI responded to the Wall Street Journal's request for comments either. So, yeah. Anyway, he's filed his lawsuit. And, yeah, no, I'm not, Bonnie. Bonnie asks, draw the picture for everyone, please. Yeah, I'm not an artist, believe me. I wouldn't even come close to whatever this thing is. But anyway, so, also too, Trump has pushed now for Pam Bondi to ask the court, because remember, a lot of this mysteriousness about all of these, documents and everything else, some of it comes from the fact that many of it is sealed by the courts. And so now Pam Bondi is moving or going to move, reportedly according to her X account. She is going to move for the court tomorrow, meaning tomorrow, I guess, or maybe today or whatever. Anyway, to unseal the grand jury transcripts. Now, it's up to the court as to whether or not they want to actually do that. And the reason being, honestly, is because there's a lot of other information in there, such as names of witnesses, names of accusers, names of victims. There's all kinds of stuff here that probably isn't really fit for the public sphere. But according to, the left, oh my gosh, this is the nail in the coffin. Ha! Well, guess what? Not everybody on the left is actually jumping on the bandwagon. And as much as I really am not too happy with this gentleman, I don't really care to listen to him very much, but he does occasionally, he's like a broken clock. He's right occasionally. He's right a couple of times whenever it comes about. But here, Chris Cuomo, this in Townhall, Chris Cuomo passes on some of his thoughts on the Epstein letter. Take a listen.
I get that he's pissed off, okay? And he's not wrong. This Wall Street Journal piece is a hack job, okay? And he says he's suing Rupert Murdoch, who he, was his buddy. They have, Fox kind of made Trump, and he's suing the Journal. He's suing everybody. He says he didn't write the birthday letter that they're ascribing to him, to Epstein for his 50th birthday. I mean, it's so stupid, okay? The Epstein story is about abusing kids who didn't have the power or agency to do anything about it, that rich and powerful people may have known it was going on and they got away with it. That's the story, okay? It's not that Trump liked a scumbag, okay? Now, I get that in the media this is great because it's bad for Trump and he's going crazy and he's going to pump and move the story for the Wall Street Journal right now by saying it's fake and it's wrong, but it doesn't move the needle in the country. It's going to make you some money, Rupert. Great for you, just what you need. But this is why we can't get anywhere. The guy says, I didn't write the letter. The letter is meaningless. You put out the piece anyway, and there's no light on what really matters.
Well, like I said, a broken clock is right twice a day. Chris Cuomo's right on this. He is absolutely correct about this. And again, I got the year wrong. I think it's 2003 was when the letter was supposedly written. So, yeah. This is just a mess. These people, I'm telling you, the left is doing everything that they possibly can. Everything that they possibly can to try and get Trump. Well, this is part of the thing because now people are starting to understand that, hey, the Wall Street Journal is actually, if the Wall Street Journal doesn't retract the story or doesn't come clean, their credibility is at risk here. It really is. So now the paper, of course, says that they have the letter, but they won't publish it. According to Carolyn Levitt, there's some question as to whether or not that actually is even true, whether or not they actually have the letter. And so, yeah, it's going back and forth. And you also have to remember, I mean, this was in 2003, 2007 was when he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. 2008, they had their full falling out. Trump is on record going to the prosecutor in the Florida case and volunteering. The one guy who basically went to the prosecutor and said, hey, I am willing to give you every bit of information that you want. The prosecutor himself told all the news outlets this, that Donald Trump volunteered to provide any kind of information that the prosecutor wanted, and the prosecutor applauded him for it. Donald Trump was the first president in his first term to actually go after the child sex trafficking rings. Donald Trump has consistently been against pedophiles, child traffickers, etc., sexual predators, and things of that nature. Donald Trump has not shown a single iota of being in the ring or in the know for any of this stuff. And yet, that's what they seem to want to think, that he is just some, I don't even know what to even say about it, but just some kind of like pedophile, etc. Well, anyway, this is just going to hang out realistically until something happens. Well, the Democrats attempted once again, by the way, to try and get the resolution put in to try and get the Epstein files released. And, well, let's just say that there was a addition that was added to it, and the Democrats flipped immediately on their passing of it. So the resolution was House Resolution 589. In the House resolution, it talks about the Attorney General make publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format all credible documents, records, communications, metadata in the possession of the Department of Justice, including the FBI and the United States Attorney's offices, referring or relating to the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, here's part of the problem. And they also call out in this article in Red State, they also call out the fact that the letter that the Wall Street Journal reportedly says that they have would have also come out. Now, there was an amendment that was added. That amendment, okay, well, at first, let me back up just a second. So first, the resolution was voted to get out of committee, and all of the Democrats voted yes. The Republicans all voted no. So it, excuse me. So it came up to a 9-4 vote against putting the resolution out. Well, then an amendment was added to it, and that amendment changed the final tally. So that amendment that was added, the Republicans voted yes on it, and the Democrats in lockstep voted no. Well, what was the amendment? The amendment was simply this. There was an exclusion that was added to the end of the document that demonstrated that any document that is demonstrably false or unverified would be excluded. So in other words, any kind of thing that they can't verify as being factual as a part of whatever evidence would automatically be excluded. And the Democrats voted against having that as an amendment. So don't sit here and tell me that the Democrats are altruistic and are like, oh yeah, well, we know we're not part of the list. We know that. We just want to get this out there for the sake of transparency. And, we need to know, is Donald Trump on that list? And yet when they're basically told that, hey, if there's anything that is going to be released or that is part of the trove of information that we cannot cross-verify or otherwise validate as being factual, that can't go out. And the Democrats are like, no, we don't want that to happen. They don't want the truth to come out, folks. That's the point. The Democrats are looking to utilize this as a political weapon. They don't give a crap if the information that is being presented is true or not. They don't care. They don't care. They want this weapon to be used against Donald Trump because they have nothing else. They have literally nothing else to try and get Donald Trump on. And that's what they're after. They don't care if it's true or not. What they care about is whether or not his name actually shows up on something. Who cares if it's actually him? Who cares if it's actually true and factual? They don't give a crap because they're all about the smear campaign. They're not about the truth. They're not about following the evidence. They're not about facts. They never have been. You can just look at any of their ideological stances. Climate change. No, there's not really much evidence that definitively proves that it's man-made. Biological. Oh, yeah, just because you feel like you're, some other sex or some other species, you can be that species. We have to buy into that kind of a delusion. Oh, yeah, men don't have a biological advantage over women in sports. Kids, hey, when they're 13 years old or 12 or 6 or 5 or even 3, they can tell you what sex they actually, or what gender they actually are, when they barely even understand what the word gender really means. All of this crap is the Democrat Party's stance. It's all about feelings, nothing about facts, nothing about evidence, nothing about truth. All right, let me go ahead and get this. Oh, this is a new one. Let's give this one a try. All right. So, I don't know if I have a lot of parents in the audience, but attention, parents! Do you want your child to grow up with a real understanding of the heroes who protect our freedom? Now, you can teach them with the Kids Guide to America's Mighty Military. You know what? If you have grandkids, you might want to look into this thing too. So, the Kids Guide to America's Mighty Military is an exciting educational guide that celebrates the courage and dedication of our armed forces. Your child will learn about every branch of the military and the important values of service, responsibility, and patriotism. Plus, when you order today, you'll also receive the Kids Guide to the B-2 Spirit Bomber, an incredible bonus guide about America's most advanced stealth aircraft, completely free. That's right, completely free. Give your child or grandchild, or even get one for maybe a niece, a nephew, whatever. Give your children in your life a greater respect for those who serve and protect while making learning fun. Now, don't wait. Supplies are limited on all of this. Go to freemilitarybundle.com. freemilitarybundle.com to claim your free gift, which is, again, that B-2 Spirit Bomber Kids Guide to the B-2 Spirit Bomber, which is a bonus guide for you, absolutely free. Go to freemilitarybundle.com to claim your free gift bundle now. All right. That's a new one. I like that. Something wigged out on my show here, on my deal here. There we go. All right. That was my connection. I don't know what happened. Anyway. Okay, so we may have some answers on another hoax. That's right. The Russian collusion hoax. You know, the thing that Adam Schiff swore up and down he had factual evidence but never produced it, kind of like the Wall Street Journal is doing with this letter. Well, apparently there was a meeting this week or last week with some top Trump officials about disclosing some of the documents about the Trump-Russian collusion hoax. The office of the DNI organized the meeting, although Attorney General Pam Bondi and DNI Chief Tulsi Gabbard were not present on this, or in this meeting. However, Paul Sperry at Real Clear Investigations had the story talking about this potential disclosure being multi-tiered, dealing with the general collusion delusion, and along with the lines with how Democrats weaponized the intelligence to hamstring Trump and how they protected Hillary Clinton, who hired the ex-MI6 spook Christopher Steele to compile an opposition research file on Donald Trump known as the Steele dossier, which was the basis for all of this circus. Well, according to Red State, Gabbard has now made a criminal referral. That's right. She dropped a bombshell today. Talking about this in a detailed X thread, Gabbard laid out the findings of an investigation into the Obama officials' involvement with devising and perpetuating the Russian collusion narrative, thereby hamstringing the Donald Trump first presidency. The document release follows the CIA assessment early this month that former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI Director James Comey, and former DNI James Clapper took unusual direct roles in shaping how the now infamous ICA, Intelligence Community Assessment, was released during the presidential transition following the 2016 election. Gabbard followed up her initial thread with the announcement that her office was turning over all of the documents to the Department of Justice for a criminal referral for all of this. So she also pointed out that their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. We are turning over all the documents to the DOJ for criminal referral. Gabby's post also links to an ODNI press release titled New Evidence of Obama Administration Conspiracy to Subvert President Trump's 2016 Victory and Presidency. So it spells it all out. It spells it all out. Now, here's the thing. Do you honestly believe that none of these people, that all of these people acted without Obama's knowing what's going on? That none of these people acted without Obama's say-so? That all of them decided to do all of this on their own? Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think so. So, yeah. Gabbard wrote in her statement, "The issue that I am raising is not a partisan issue. It is one that concerns every American. The information we are releasing today clearly shows that there was a treasonous conspiracy in 2016 committed by officials at the highest level of our government. Their goal was to subvert the will of the American people and enact what was essentially a years-long coup with the objective of trying to usurp the president from fulfilling the mandate bestowed upon him by the American people. Their egregious abuse of power and blatant rejection of our Constitution threatens the very foundation and integrity of our democratic republic. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. The American people's faith and trust in our democratic republic, and therefore the future of our nation, depends on it. As such, I am providing all documents to the Department of Justice to deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve." Folks, we're not even 1 year in yet. We're not even 6 months in. July 20th, from my resident math whiz, Nana, over on Rumble, July 20th will mark 6 months. We're not even there yet. And we now have the auto pen scandal. We now have this. We have all kinds of other things that are going on. We have all of the things that are happening over in the Middle East, the wars that Donald Trump has cleared off the board in Africa, and the work that he is doing in terms of the 12-day war that took care of Iran's nuclear program, and all of these other things. And everything is exactly what we asked for. We, the American people who wanted America to come back again and be great again. We're getting it. All right, folks. Thank you, 3 Chevy, for telling me about my closed captioning. I do appreciate that. these next two articles that I'm going to tell you about fall under the "it's not happening, but we're glad that it is." And by that, I pretty much mean the whole idea that, our elections are super secure, that election fraud is not happening all over the place. That election fraud is, it's very, very minor, only happens a few times, doesn't, it's not that big of a deal. Really? Then why is it that in Democrat enclaves, such as Oregon, this article in the Federalist that I'm showing on the screen now, auditors downplay tens of thousands registered to vote without proof of citizenship in Oregon. Now remember, the National Voter Registration Act, also known as the Motor Voter Law, has essentially allowed people to just automatically, when they go to get a driver's license, and granted, on the surface, the concept is pretty cool, making it easier to go ahead and register to vote while you're getting a driver's license. I mean, why not? It just seems easy, except there's only one problem. Many states don't ask for proof of citizenship. Many states will automatically allow you to go and register right away for voting without checking any of these documents. All it really is just a, hey, would you like to vote? At least this is how it is here in Washington. Hey, would you like to register to vote today? By registering to vote, you hereby certify that you are a U.S. citizen, that blah, 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 check this box. And that's it. And if you have these people who come here who do not read English clearly and do not understand English, the spoken word, clearly, then it is a high probability that they're just going to check that box thinking, hey, I'm just going to check that box and poof, there you go. Now they're part of the voter registrations. So here in the piece, auditors found that 1 in 35 voters did not have proof of citizenship here. So the motor voter system in Oregon registered hundreds of possible non-citizens. The state government decided to launch an audit. Auditors found that 1 in 35 voters did not have proof of citizenship and then decided to look the other way. Oregon officials discovered in September hundreds of potential non-citizens had registered to vote. They examined limited data and eventually found the motor voter system had placed more than 1,600 possible ineligible voters on the rolls. State leaders commissioned an audit, which, as Oregon journalist Jeff Eager first reported, found the 1 in 35 being labeled as citizens having no proof of such citizenship in the motor voter system. So here's the motor voter system reportedly registered 766,756 people total to vote as of September. That 1 in 35 ratio, which is roughly 2.8% of that number applied across the state, suggests that the system itself may have registered more than 21,470 voters without proof of citizenship. And by the way, instead of flagging this lack of documentation as a massive gap in election integrity, the auditor, which was the Chicago firm called Baker Tilly, dismissed it, saying that this would probably be too small to decide elections. Folks, it may not decide national elections. It may not even decide state elections. But it damn well could decide local elections, county elections, school board elections. It damn well could affect your local elections. See, this is one of the arguments that the left keeps saying, the numbers of people who have gotten registered with irregularities don't make a difference. Yes, they do. As I've been pointing out to you guys, in most cases, the presidential election, yeah, you're just a simple, like, small drop in the bucket, and it's an awfully big bucket for voting. But where your vote is really going to matter, and this is part of the reason why you need to make sure that you vote, is that where it's going to matter is your local elections and potentially even your state elections. Because if you think about it, your state representative is on par with having a small district, and your vote could make the difference in that district. The same thing goes with things like initiatives. We have the initiative system here in Washington. Voting for the initiatives or against the initiatives, when it becomes a state or local government application, your vote counts even more than you realize. So even though this kind of stuff, honestly, is not going to necessarily affect nationwide elections because the percentage and the number is relatively small, it's still more important to make sure that these people do not end up on our voter rolls. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you should not be voting in our elections, period. That's it. And as one of my longtime Whiskey Warrior P1s points out, he says, look how close Florida was when Bush ran against Gore. That actually had to go to the Supreme Court. The whole hanging Chad thing. You should look into that if you're younger than the age of 35. I'm telling you. There is a lot of times, there's been plenty of times in history that has presented where small differences in numbers, while not always being the case as being effective or affecting two things, it can happen. And by the way, it's not just Oregon. Here's another Democrat enclave. Messy New Jersey voter rolls have more than 32,000 questionable voter records, according to a report. So here, the New Jersey voters get to pick a new governor in November, in the November general election. But that state needs to really clean up its voter list, according to this piece in the Federalist also. After reviewing New Jersey's statewide voter roll, a report from the Public Interest Legal Foundation shows an urgent need for an improved list maintenance practices after identifying more than 32,000 registration issues, many of which could allow people to vote more than once. So it's not just non-citizens that are on the voter rolls. They now have voter rolls that are allowing people to vote more than once. The PILF found 14,059 duplicate registrations, with voters registered in New Jersey and at least one other state at the same time. Now, the PILF did not look at all 50 states, meaning that there are certainly more that could potentially be found this way. The PILF identified duplicate registrations in New Jersey and Florida in roughly 7,000 cases, New Jersey and New York in roughly 5,700 cases, and New Jersey and Pennsylvania in 925. Folks, the PILF also found 15,655 registrations using fictitious birth dates, which admittedly are sometimes used as placeholders. Yeah. The PILF report found that found 5,166 birth dates that are the placeholder birth dates of 1800-0101 in Essex County, 2,108 in Passaic County, and 1928 in Middlesex County. Of those 15,655 registrations with the bad birth dates, 85% are marked as actual active voters, according to the report. Oh my gosh. Yep. It's not happening, but it's great that it is. Okay. So, my last couple of articles here, let's just go ahead and move over to this one. In Loudoun County, the Loudoun County School Board has now been essentially forced to stop forcing the school staff to use students' preferred pronouns. Teachers went ahead and sued the Northern Virginia School District's transgender policy, and a court ruled yesterday that they will no longer be forced to actually have to use these student preferred pronouns. So in other words, they can still say a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. They can say that. This is a free speech victory for several teachers who sued. The Loudoun County Circuit Court officially recognized that the Loudoun County Public Schools no longer requires teachers to use pronouns inconsistent with the student's biological sex. The court noted, quote, on its face, the transgender policy does not require teachers or other staff to use a pronoun to refer to a person that the teacher believes is inconsistent with the person's sex. Instead, the policy permits staff to refrain from using any pronouns. So the transgender policy, which was adopted in 2021, allows gender-expansive or transgender students to choose their names and pronouns. Originally, officials stated it required teachers to use them as well. The policy reads, staff or students who intentionally and persistently refuse to respect a student's gender identity by using the wrong name and gender pronoun are in violation of this policy. So now the Loudoun County School Board, by the way, backed down on requiring teachers to use the pronouns after the Alliance Defending Freedom attorneys won a victory on the same issue for another high school teacher in a different Virginia school district. So Thursday's court ruling affirms the school board's new interpretation of its policy. This is the second victory for Loudoun County teachers in this case. So we are starting to win, folks. We are starting to win. This is what we voted for. This is what the American people have been looking for. This is what we want and have wanted for all of this time. And this kind of stuff, man, I'm telling you. Let's just keep racking up the wins. Let's just keep racking up these wins. One final thing in the final minute here. I'll see if I can cover this quickly. Apparently there was an explosion in an LA County Sheriff Department training facility. Unfortunately, 3 people were killed in that explosion. Details are still slim, in terms of what's going on with it. But according to, some sources that are down there dealing with this, that let's see, reports of the explosion. All I'm seeing is reports of an explosion, over and over and over again. But I don't see it's still a developing. Oh, here's an update. 3 deputies are confirmed dead. No other injuries are reported. It appears to be an accident. Related to moving ordnance on the property. So it doesn't look like there's any kind of nefarious things that have going on. It was just apparently an accident, possibly a human mistake that caused it. So anyway. So nothing nefarious at this point. There's nothing to indicate that. So, unfortunately, 3 people have died. So our condolences and prayers go out to the families of those folks. There's probably going to be more that comes out later, but anyway. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you hit that search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, or if you really want to, a thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and of course the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow is Saturday, 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.